You know what breaks my heart? Walking through the mall yesterday, I saw this young couple. Beautiful girl, handsome guy, picture perfect, like they stepped right out of a magazine. But their eyes told a different story. Empty, distant. Two people physically together, but spiritually miles apart. And it hit me right then. We've got it all wrong, don't we? We're chasing shadows, thinking beauty is going to save us, going to make us happy, going to fill that void inside. Let me tell you something real. Something that might sting a little, but sometimes the truth has to hurt before it can heal. We're living in a world that's selling us a lie. A big, shiny, perfectly packaged lie that says if you just find someone beautiful enough, if you just land that trophy partner, if you just get with someone who turns heads when they walk into a room, then you'll be happy. Then you'll be complete. Then your life will finally make sense. But I'm here to tell you that's fool's gold. And I know because I've been that fool. Back in '82, I was that young man who thought he had it all figured out. I had my checklist, tall, model-esque, perfect smile, designer clothes. I was so caught up in the packaging that I forgot to check what was inside the box. You know what I mean? I spent 2 whole years of my life in what I thought was love, but was really just admiration. I was in love with an image, not a soul. You see, true beauty isn't something you can capture in a mirror or a photograph. It's not in the symmetry of someone's face or the curve of their smile. Real beauty, the kind that lasts, the kind that transforms your life, that's something that radiates from within. It's in the way someone's eyes light up when they talk about their dreams. It's in the gentleness of their hands when they're helping someone in need. It's in the strength of their character when life throws its worst at them. I remember meeting this elderly couple back in '91 at a small diner in Chicago. He wasn't much to look at. Time had taken its toll, as it does on all of us. She was in a wheelchair, her hair gray, her face lined with the stories of decades. But when he looked at her, man, it was like watching the sunrise. And the way she smiled back at him, there was more beauty in that one moment than in all the fashion magazines ever printed. They shared their story with me that day, 53 years together. Through war, through poverty, through the loss of their first child, through cancer, twice, he told me something I'll never forget. He said, son, when I first met Sarah, I thought she was pretty. But now I see her true beauty. It's in her courage, her kindness, her strengths. The older we get, the more beautiful she becomes. That's what we're missing today. We're so busy swiping left and right, making split-second judgments based on profile pictures, that we've forgotten how to see the real person behind the image. We've forgotten that true love, the kind that sustains you, that grows stronger with each passing year. That kind of love sees with the heart, not just the eyes. You want to know why? Loving for physical appearance alone won't bring you happiness, because physical beauty is like morning dew. Beautiful, but temporary. It's a gift from time that time will eventually take back. But the beauty of someone's spirit, that's like a star that shines brighter as the night grows darker. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. When you're lying on your deathbed, looking back on your life, what do you think will matter more? The perfect features of your partner's face, or the perfect way they held your hand through life storms? The designer clothes they wore, or the warmth of their heart when you needed it most? I've seen too many people wake up 10 years into a relationship and realize they're living with a stranger. They chose based on what their eyes wanted to see, not what their soul needed to experience. They picked the shiny wrapping paper and forgot to check if there was anything worthwhile inside the package. You know what's truly beautiful? Watching someone's face light up when they talk about their passions, the way they scrunch their nose when they're deep in thought, the sound of their uncontrolled laughter, not the polite kind, but the real, raw, from-the-gut kind, the way they look first thing in the morning with messy hair and sleepy eyes, but their heart's still full of love for you. Physical attraction? Sure, it's important. To spark that might get the fire started, but it's not the fuel that keeps it burning. That comes from deeper places, from shared values, from mutual respect, from the way you grow together through life's challenges. It comes from choosing someone who makes you want to be a better person, someone who sees your flaws and loves you not despite them, but because they're part of who you are. I've known men who married the most physically beautiful women they could find, thinking they'd hit the jackpot. But beauty without substance is like a book with blank pages. It might look good on your shelf, but it can't feed your soul. These same men often end up lonely in crowded rooms, rich in admiration from strangers, but poor in genuine connection. Back in '95, I met this brother named Marcus. Corporate executive, drove a fancy car, lived in one of those high-rise apartments with a view that'd take your breath away. He had it all figured out, or so he thought. He dated what he called the most beautiful women in the city. But sitting across from me at that jazz club, nursing his third drink, you know what he said? He said, "I'm tired of feeling alone, even when I'm with someone." That hit me hard because I knew exactly what he meant. When you build a relationship purely on physical attraction, you're building a house on sand. The first storm that comes through, and storms always come, it's all going to wash away. Marcus had spent 15 years chasing perfection in all the wrong places, and all he had to show for it was a collection of beautiful memories with no real substance. You see, the problem with loving someone solely for their physical appearance is that you're not really loving them at all. You're loving an idea, an image, a temporary state of being. It's like trying to catch the wind. You might feel it for a moment, but you can't hold on to it forever. And let me tell you something, that kind of shallow love, it's exhausting. It's like being on stage all the time, worried about every wrinkle, every gray hair, every extra pound. Let me share something with you that changed my whole perspective. In 2002, I visited a burn unit at St. Mary's Hospital. There was this couple there, James and Maria. Maria had been caught in a house fire 6 months earlier. 60% of her body was covered in burns, including her face. Now, by the society standards, her physical beauty had been altered forever. But James, the way he looked at her hadn't changed one bit. He sat by her bed every single day, holding her hand, telling her she was beautiful. One day I asked him how he did it, how he stayed so devoted when everything on the surface had changed. You know what he told me? He said, "The fire couldn't touch what made me fall in love with her. Her laugh still sounds the same. Her heart is still just as kind. Her spirit is still just as strong. If anything, she's more beautiful to me now because I've seen the depths of her." That's what real love looks like, family. It's not about the package. It's about what's inside. It's about finding someone whose soul speaks to yours in a language only the two of you understand. It's about connecting with someone on a level so deep that physical appearance becomes just a small part of a much bigger picture. Think about your best friend for a moment. What makes them special to you? Is it their physical appearance? Or is it the way they show up for you when you're down, the way they know exactly what to say to make you laugh? The way they understand you without you having to explain yourself? That's the kind of connection we should be looking for in love too. In 2008, I spent some time at a nursing home doing research for a project. There was this couple there, both in their late 80s. She had advanced Alzheimer's and didn't recognize anyone most days. But every morning he would come to her room, dress in his best clothes, and court her all over again. He'd show her pictures, tell her stories of their life together, hold her hand, and dance with her to their favorite songs. One day I asked him why he still tried so hard when she didn't even remember who he was. His answer, "I remember who she is, and who she is hasn't changed. The woman I fell in love with is still in there, and she deserves to be loved completely, whether she knows it's me loving her or not." See, that's the kind of love that transforms lives. That's the kind of love that stands the test of time. It's not about how someone looks in a bikini or how they fill out a suit. It's about how they fill your life with meaning, how they challenge you to grow, how they support your dreams while pursuing their own. Let me tell you about Sarah and David. Met them in '99 at a conference in Atlanta. David was what most people would call conventionally attractive, tall, athletic, the kind of guy who never had trouble getting dates. But he told me the story of how he fell in love with Sarah. She wasn't his usual type physically, but they got stuck in an elevator together for 2 hours, and in those 2 hours, she made him laugh harder than he had in years. They talked about everything, their dreams, their fears, their favorite books, their biggest failures, something that stuck with me. For the first time in my life, I forgot to care about how someone looked because I was so captivated by who they were. They've been together for 20 years now, built a beautiful life, raised 3 kids, started a foundation helping underprivileged youth. Their love story isn't about physical attraction. It's about 2 souls recognizing each other. And here's something else we need to talk about. The way this obsession with physical appearance is stealing our joy, robbing us of genuine connections. We're so busy trying to look perfect, trying to find perfect, that we're missing the beautiful imperfections that make love real. We're missing the morning coffee conversations, the silly dances in the kitchen, the quiet understanding in times of grief, the strength in holding each other through life's storms. You want to know what real beauty looks like? It's the way someone looks at you when you're at your worst but loves you at your best. It's the person who sees your scars, physical and emotional, and doesn't try to fix them but helps you wear them with dignity. It's the partner who encourages you to chase your dreams even when those dreams might take you far from them. It's the one who chooses you every single day, not because of how you look, but because of who you are. You know what haunts me sometimes? The stories I hear from young people today. There was this young lady I met in Brooklyn, 2010. Beautiful girl, talented artist, bright future ahead of her. But she was trapped in this cycle of toxic relationships because she thought her worth was tied. She kept dating these guys who treated her like a trophy, showed her off at parties, posted her pictures on social media, but never bothered to learn her dreams, her fears, what made her soul dance. She told me something that broke my heart. She said, I spend 3 hours every morning making sure I look perfect because I'm afraid if I don't, he won't love me anymore. 3 hours every morning trying to earn someone's love. Think about that. That's not love. That's imprisonment. That's not a relationship. And it goes both ways. I remember this young man in Chicago, 2007, spent every spare dollar on designer clothes, expensive watches, gym memberships, worked 2 jobs to maintain this image he thought would attract the right kind of partner. You know what he got? A string of shallow relationships that left him feeling more alone than when he was single. Because when you attract someone with an image, you have to maintain that image forever. It's like trying to hold your breath underwater. Eventually, you have to come up for air. Let me tell you about real love. Real love grows stronger when you take off the makeup, when you let down your guard, when you can sit in comfortable silence and feel more connected than ever. Real love doesn't need filters or perfect lighting or the right angle. Real love sees you clearly in all kinds of light. I met this couple in New Orleans, 2004. They lost everything in Hurricane Katrina, their home, their possessions, all their photos and memories. But you know what they didn't lose. Their love for each other. Standing in the ruins of what used to be their home, they held hands and laughed about the ugly couch they'd argued over buying, now floating down the street. She looked at him, hair a mess, clothes muddy, and said, "Baby, you've never looked more handsome to me than you do right now." That's the kind of love that sustains you. That's the kind of love that builds something real. Because when everything else is stripped away, the nice clothes, the perfect hair, the carefully crafted image, what remains is what matters. The heart, the soul, the essence of who someone truly is. You want to know what's truly attractive? Integrity, kindness, the courage to stand up for what's right even when it costs you something, the strength to be vulnerable, the wisdom to admit when you're wrong, the generosity of spirit that makes others feel seen and valued. These qualities don't fade with time. They grow stronger like fine wine. I remember visiting a small town in Georgia, 2001. Met this man who'd been married for 47 years. His wife had passed recently, and he showed me their wedding album. She was stunning. He was handsome. They looked like movie stars. But you know what he talked about when he remembered her? Not her beauty, though, that hadn't dimmed in his eyes. He talked about her character. How she volunteered at the local school well into her 70s. How she could make anyone feel like the most important person in the room. How she faced cancer with grace and courage, more concerned about how her family was coping than herself. He told me, the day I married her, I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. But that beauty paled in comparison to who she became over our lifetime together. Every challenge she faced, every kindness she showed, every sacrifice she made, it all just made her more beautiful to me. That's what we're missing when we focus solely on physical appearance. We're missing the opportunity to witness someone's soul unfold like a flower blooming in slow motion. We're missing the chance to grow old with someone whose beauty deepens with every passing year, every shared experience, every obstacle overcome together. Think about the most meaningful moments in your life. The times when you felt truly loved, truly seen, truly valued. Were those moments about physical appearance, or were they about connection, understanding, acceptance? Were they about how someone looked, or about how they made you feel? I remember this woman I met in Seattle, 2006. She'd just gone through chemotherapy, lost all her hair, her eyebrows, dropped 40 pounds, all the physical changes that come with fighting cancer. Her husband had been by her side through every treatment, every bad day, every moment of doubt. One day, she apologized to him for not looking like herself anymore. You know what he said? He said, "Honey, you've never looked more like yourself. Your strength, your courage, your spirit, that's who you've always been to me. That's what I see when I look at you." That's the difference between surface attraction and soul deep love. Surface attraction is like a spark, bright, exciting, but quick to fade. Soul deep love is like ember. It glows steady and warm, and the more you tend to it, the stronger it burns. We need to start teaching our young people this truth. We need to show them that while physical attraction might get your attention, it's character that keeps your heart. It's values that build a life together. It's shared purpose that creates lasting happiness. Let me share something that shook me to my core. 1997, Los Angeles. I was speaking at this high school, and afterward, this young girl came up to me, 16 years old, bright as the morning sun, but her eyes were full of shadows. She showed me her phone filled with filtered photos of herself, each one edited to perfection. Then she showed me the comments below each picture. Hearts, fire emojis, compliments about her beauty. She had thousands of followers, dozens of boys sliding into her DMs. Then she said something that still echoes in my mind today. "Everyone loves how I look, but nobody knows who I am. I feel like I'm disappearing behind my own image." 16 years old, already trapped in the prison of perception, already learning to value herself based on likes and comments rather than the content of her character. That's what this obsession with physical appearance does to us. It turns us into performers in our own lives. And we become so focused on maintaining the exterior that we forget to nurture what's inside. We forget that true beauty, lasting beauty. Soul deep beauty comes from living authentically, from loving genuinely, from being real in a world that profits from our insecurities. I remember this conversation I had with a successful businessman in Detroit, 2000. He'd been through 3 divorces, each time marrying someone younger, more conventionally beautiful than the last. Sitting in his corner office, surrounded by all the trappings of success, he confessed something to me. He said, "I've spent my whole life upgrading everything, my car, my house, my watch, my wife, but I've never felt more downgraded as a human being." That hit different, didn't it? Because that's what happens when we treat people like accessories, when we value them for their appearance rather than their essence. We don't just diminish them, we diminish ourselves. We trade the chance for real connection for the temporary high of arm candy. Let me tell you about real love. 2003, Philadelphia. I met this couple at a small jazz club. He was playing piano, and she was sitting in the front row, eyes closed, swaying to the music. After the show, I watched them interact. They weren't movie star beautiful. They weren't young. They weren't stylishly dressed. But the way they looked at each other like they were seeing something no one else could see. Later, they told me their story. They met in their 40s, both divorced, both a little bruised by life. Their first date was a disaster. She spilled coffee on his shirt. He got them lost driving to the restaurant. But somewhere in the mess of that evening, they saw each other. Really saw each other, not the surface stuff, not the carefully curated image we all try to project, but the real person underneath. She told me I fell in love with the way his face lights up when he talks about music, the way he remembers everyone's coffee order at his gig, the way he still calls his mama every Sunday. He said, "I fell in love with her laugh, not the polite one she uses in public, but the real one that comes out when something strikes her funny. The way she sees beauty in ordinary moments, the way she makes everyone around her feel heard." That's what we're missing when we focus on physical appearance alone. We're missing the symphony of small moments that make up real love. We're missing the chance to know someone so deeply that their physical appearance becomes just one note in a beautiful. You know what's truly attractive? Growth. The willingness to learn and change. The courage to face your own demons and help others face theirs. The strength to stay soft in a world that tries to harden you. These qualities don't show up in photographs, but they show up in life. They show up in the moments that matter. I watched a man lose his wife of 50 years in 2009. At the funeral, he stood up and shared their love story. Not the sanitized version we often hear, but the real one. The fights they overcame, the dreams they built together. The times they almost gave up, but chose each other again. I saw her at her most beautiful yesterday. She took her last breath. Because even then, even in that moment, her concern was for those she was leaving behind. That's the kind of beauty that death can't touch. That's what we need to understand about love and attraction. Physical beauty might catch your eye, but it's the beauty of someone's spirit that catches your soul. It's the way they handle adversity, the way they treat people who can do nothing for them, the way they remain true to their values when it would be easier to compromise. And let me tell you about this teacher I met in Baltimore, 2005. She'd been voted most beautiful in high school, homecoming queen, the whole 9 yards. But sitting in her classroom 20 years later, watching her interact with her students, I saw a different kind of beauty. The kind that lights up a room, not because of how it looks, but because of what it gives. The kind that makes people feel seen, valued, capable of more than they ever thought possible. You know what keeps me up at night? Thinking about all the beautiful souls out there who might never find each other because they're too busy chasing an illusion, too busy trying to meet some impossible standard of physical perfection, too busy looking at the surface to see the depth that lies beneath. I remember this moment in Miami, 2011. I was sitting at this little beachside cafe watching the sunset. There was this couple next to me, it must have been in their 70s. She was feeding him soup because his hands shook too much to hold the spoon steady. Now, some might look at that scene and see only age, only decline. But what I saw was love in its purest form. What I saw was beauty that transcended the physical. Earlier that day, I'd watched young couples on that same beach, all perfect bodies and carefully posed photos. But sitting there watching this elderly couple, I understood something profound. Those young couples were chasing moments and trying to capture the perfect shot, the perfect angle, the perfect memory. But this elderly couple, they were living something real, something that Instagram filters can't capture and time can't fade. We've got to wake up, family. We've got to understand that when we make physical appearance our priority in love, we're setting ourselves up for a lifetime of emptiness. Because here's the truth. The kind of truth that might hurt at first, but sets you free if you let it. Physical beauty is not an achievement. It's not a virtue. It's not a measure of worth. It's just a lucky combination of genes and time will eventually take it away from all of us. But you know what time can take? The way someone fights for what they believe in, the way they show up for the people they love, the way they face adversity with grace and courage. These are the qualities that become more beautiful with time, not less. These are the features that don't need filters or flattering lighting. In 2008, I visited a community center in Memphis. Met this couple who ran art classes for kids from tough neighborhoods. They weren't what society would call beautiful. They weren't young. They weren't stylish. But watching them work with those kids, seeing how they poured love and hope and possibility into each child, I saw beauty that would make angels weep. Real beauty. The kind that changes lives. The kind that leaves the world better than it found it. Let me tell you what real love looks like. Real love is choosing someone not because they're perfect, but because their imperfections resonate with your soul. Real love is growing together, challenging each other, supporting each other's dreams even when those dreams take you to uncomfortable places. Real love is seeing someone at their worst, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, and choosing to stay, choosing to help them grow, choosing to grow alongside them. I've seen marriages fall apart because they were built on nothing deeper than physical attraction. I've seen people waste years of their lives trying to maintain an image instead of building a connection. But I've also seen love that could move mountains. Love that survives loss, illness, tragedy. Love that grows stronger with every gray hair, every wrinkle, every scar. You want to know the secret to finding lasting happiness in love? Stop looking with your eyes and start looking with your soul. Stop asking, are they attractive enough? And start asking, do they make me want to be a better person? Stop wondering, will they look good in my social media posts? And start wondering, will they hold my hand through life's storms? Because here's the truth, the deep, unchanging truth that I've learned from watching thousands of love stories unfold. When you find someone who touches your soul, who challenges your mind, who understands your heart, their physical appearance will transform before your eyes. They'll become beautiful to you in ways that transcend the physical. You'll see beauty in their morning bedhead, in their concentrated frown, in their tired eyes after a long day's work. That's the kind of love worth waiting for. That's the kind of love worth working for. That's the kind of love that doesn't fade when wrinkles appear or when gravity takes its toll. That's the kind of love that grows more beautiful with time, like a fine wine, like a well-worn book, like a story that gets better with each retelling. So I challenge you today, all of you, look deeper, love deeper. See with your heart, not just your eyes. Understand that true beauty, lasting beauty, meaningful beauty comes from the soul. It comes from character, from kindness, from the courage to be authentic in a world that profits from our pretenses. Don't settle for the shallow end of love when you were made for the depths. Don't trade the chance for real connection for the temporary high of surface attraction. Don't waste your precious time trying to earn love through your appearance when real love, the kind that transforms lives, is earned through the content of your character. Because at the end of the day, at the end of your life, what will matter is not how many heads you turned, but how many hearts you touched. Not how many people admired your appearance, but how many lives you improved with your presence. Not how beautiful you looked in your photos, but how beautifully you loved in your actions. That's the truth about love and beauty. That's the path to lasting happiness. And it's available to all of us if we just have the courage to look deeper, love deeper, and be real in a world that's drowning in artificial beauty. Remember, you are not here to be decoration in someone else's life. You are here to make a difference, to love deeply, to live authentically. And when you find someone who sees that, who values that, who loves you for your soul, and not just your shell, that's when you'll understand why every shallow relationship before them didn't work out. That's when you'll understand that true beauty, true love, and true happiness are all grown from the same seed, authenticity. Plant that seed. Water it with truth. Watch it grow into something more beautiful than any physical attraction could ever be. The choice is yours now. Choose wisely. Choose deeply. Choose love that transforms, not love that conforms. Choose beauty that radiates from the soul, not beauty that's only skin deep. Choose the kind of love that doesn't just turn heads, but changes lives. Because that's the only kind of love worth having, and the only kind of love that brings lasting happiness.